Black CEO denied room service 7 minutes. Later, he bought the entire hotel. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. You have 20 minutes. Get him out. The lobby of the Lexington Grand fell silent. Chandeliers froze mid-glow. The marble echoed with authority, cold, rehearsed, and certain. At the center stood a man in a black leather jacket, wrists loosely held by 2 uniformed guards, calm, composed, almost too still. He didn't fight. He didn't plead. He just looked at her, the blonde manager standing by the front desk, arms folded, power dripping from posture alone. Her smirk was the kind that came with habit, not confidence. That's right. Get him out. Phones lifted. A guest near the elevator started recording. Another whispered, "What did he even do?" No one knew. No one asked. Because the scene had already decided who was right. The manager turned toward the staff. If he's a real guest, he can prove it. But until then, she snapped her fingers. One guard tightened his grip. The man still didn't move. His voice, low and steady, cut through the air like a blade. "You're making a mistake." A pause. The kind of silence that swallows the whole room. Even the lobby music seemed to fade, like it understood the weight of those 4 words. The manager chuckled. "Mistake? Sir, this is a 5-star establishment. We don't make mistakes." But her voice cracked on the last word, just enough for anyone listening to hear it. He lifted his eyes slow, deliberate. "You sure about that?" The question wasn't loud, but it shifted something invisible. A young receptionist, barely 23, glanced between them, anxiety in her throat. The guards hesitated. Cameras flashed. And for the first time, someone in the back whispered, "Wait, he looks familiar." Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Elias Grant. The manager's voice sliced through again. "You have 20 minutes before I call corporate security." Elias didn't blink. He'd been here before, not this lobby, not this city, but this moment. The same tone, the same assumption, that calm voice behind fake courtesy saying, "You don't belong here." He breathed out slowly, eyes on the gold nameplate behind her desk. Hotel Lexington Grand, owned by Lux Holdings. And beneath it, in smaller letters, no one ever read a subsidiary of Grant Group International. The irony tasted like steel. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. "Funny thing about time. 20 minutes is all I need." The guards didn't understand what that meant. Neither did she. But the young receptionist did. Her eyes widened, hand hovering near her phone, unsure whether to keep filming or start apologizing. Elias glanced toward the chandelier light, catching the polished brass of his cufflinks, the only hint of wealth on him. Then he looked back at the manager. "Call whoever you need. Just make sure they pick up." Her smirk faltered. The guards shifted. Somewhere behind the desk, a phone started ringing. And in that moment, before anyone could answer, the balance of power in the room began to tilt. The guards kept their grip light, but visible enough to show control, not yet force. The manager crossed her arms, chin tilted high. "Sir, you're not listed under any active suite. Either you leave, or you'll be escorted off the property." Elias glanced at the lobby clock. 9:07 p.m. 7 minutes since he requested room service. 7 minutes since the test began. "I booked the presidential suite," he said evenly. "Under Grant." The name fell flat. No reaction. The staff traded looks. One whispered, "There's no Grant in our system." The manager smiled, brittle and smug. "See? You're not even a registered guest." A man in a gray blazer by the concierge desk muttered, "This doesn't feel right." The younger receptionist, the one who hesitated earlier, stepped closer. "Maybe check the secondary registry," she suggested quietly. The manager shot her a glare sharp enough to slice glass. "No need. We know our guests." Elias didn't argue. He just looked around at the chandelier reflecting off polished brass, at the marble floor now holding too many footsteps. He'd built lobbies like this, owned them, signed off on every grain of imported stone. Now he was being treated like a trespasser in one of his own. The guard on his left shifted uneasily. "Ma'am, he's calm." Maybe we should verify. Do your job, she snapped. He's wasting everyone's time. The words landed like a slap. Elias breathed in through his nose, slow and steady. He remembered another night, 15 years ago, when a hotel clerk in Atlanta had asked the same question, "Are you sure you belong here?" Back then, he'd walked away. Tonight, he stayed. The receptionist's voice trembled. "Miss Lowell, maybe I should call it. The system's been glitching." "Enough." The manager turned, eyes cold. "You're one word away from losing your job." The lobby tightened. Guests who'd been pretending not to watch were now recording openly. Someone whispered, "He looks important," and another answered, "Important people don't get treated like that." Elias finally spoke, quiet but cutting. "You're right. Important people don't." The manager folded her arms tighter. "Then why are you still standing here?" He looked her in the eye. "Because this is my building. I'm just checking if my staff still knows hospitality." A few nearby guests gasped. The guard's eyes darted toward the gold plaque behind the desk, the one he'd never really read. The manager scoffed, though her voice wavered. "Nice story. You can tell it to the police." Elias didn't move. He just tapped the side of his smartwatch. A faint tone chimed once, subtle, precise, deliberate. In a corporate office 30 floors above, a notification blinked on a private server. Protocol 7. Initiated. Lexington Grand. The internal security system began recording. Every camera, every mic, every employee login. Down in the lobby, no one noticed yet, but something in the air changed. The young receptionist felt it first. Her screen flickered. The system she wasn't supposed to touch refreshed itself. 3 new names appeared on her monitor. At the top, Grant, Elias, Executive Owner Access. She looked up slowly, her face draining of color. Elias met her eyes, calm as stone. "Now," he said quietly, "check again." The lobby lights hummed softly, the kind of sterile glow that made everything look too clean, too staged. Miss Lowell's heels clicked as she turned back to her staff, voice sharp enough to command attention. "I said remove him." The younger receptionist, Maya, hesitated. Her eyes flicked between Elias and the glowing monitor. The words Executive Owner Access were still pulsing at the top of her screen. She tried to speak. "Ma'am, his name—" "Enough," Lowell barked. "He's not a real guest. I've seen this scam before. Fake cards, fake names, fake confidence." A ripple of murmurs spread through the bystanders. A couple near the elevator exchanged glances. The man whispered, "This doesn't feel like a scam." But the woman shook her head. "They wouldn't treat him like this if he were somebody." Lowell leaned across the counter, her perfume sharp and deliberate. "Sir, you can either leave quietly, or I can make a call that gets you out faster. Your choice." Elias didn't flinch. He spoke with the calm precision of someone used to being doubted. "You call whoever you need to. Just make sure you spell my name right." Her lip curled. "Funny." Then louder. "Security, step in." The taller guard moved closer, but hesitation lingered in his posture. "Miss Lowell, are you sure? He hasn't—" "I said step in," she cut him off. Maya finally found her courage. "Ma'am, please look at the registry. It says owner access. I didn't type it in, it appeared." Lowell turned on her like a blade. "Owner access?" she repeated, a mocking laugh under her breath. "That's impossible. You think this man owns a place like this?" Her tone cracked the word man like it was dirt. The room shifted. Even the guests could hear what she didn't have to say out loud. The young couple stopped filming for a second, eyes narrowing in disbelief. Elias's jaw tightened slightly, but still no anger, no outburst, only control. He tilted his head. "You might want to choose your next words carefully." Lowell scoffed, half laughing. "Oh, please, don't pull the victim act. You don't fit the profile. That's all." That sentence landed heavier than she realized. A silence rolled over the room, heavy as glass. Maya swallowed hard, whispering, "The profile?" Lowell didn't back down. "Exactly. Look at him. He doesn't belong in a penthouse suite." One of the guards shifted his stance. "Ma'am." She ignored him. Elias exhaled slowly, every motion measured. He turned toward the other guests, now watching openly. "You heard her. I don't fit the profile." His voice was calm, steady, carrying the weight of 20 years of repetition. That's what they said in Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, every time I checked into something I already owned. Maya's hands trembled. She took a step forward. "Sir, is that true?" Elias gave a faint smile that wasn't really a smile. "You'll find out soon." He tapped the watch again, 2 short beeps. The elevator behind him dinged softly, doors sliding open. A tall woman in a charcoal suit stepped out, tablet in hand, corporate badge gleaming silver. Her voice was calm but crisp. "Good evening. I'm Carla Evans, Executive Administrator, Grant Group International." Lowell blinked. "Grant Group, what are you?" Carla didn't wait. She looked at Elias, not at the manager. "Sir, protocol confirmed. Internal audit recording live. Every statement logged since 9:07 p.m. Maya gasped softly. Guests raised their phones again. Lowell's confidence began to fracture. "Wait, what audit? Who authorized this?" Elias turned to her, eyes steady. "You did. The moment you said I wasn't a real guest." The guard closest to him lowered his hands, stepping back. The power in the room shifted quietly, irrevocably. The lobby lights hummed softly, the kind of sterile glow that made everything look too clean, too staged. Miss Lowell's heels clicked as she turned back to her staff, voice sharp enough to command attention. "I said remove him." The younger receptionist, Maya, hesitated. Her eyes flicked between Elias and the glowing monitor. The words executive owner access were still pulsing at the top of her screen. She tried to speak. "Ma'am, his name." "Enough," Lowell barked. "He's not a real guest. I've seen this scam before. Fake cards, fake names, fake confidence." A ripple of murmurs spread through the bystanders. A couple near the elevator exchanged glances. The man whispered, "This doesn't feel like a scam," but the woman shook her head. "They wouldn't treat him like this if he were somebody." Lowell leaned across the counter, her perfume sharp and deliberate. "Sir, you can either leave quietly, or I can make a call that gets you out faster. Your choice." Elias didn't flinch. He spoke with the calm precision of someone used to being doubted. "You call whoever you need to. Just make sure you spell my name right." Her lip curled. "Funny." Then louder. "Security, step in." The taller guard moved closer, but hesitation lingered in his posture. "Miss Lowell, are you sure? He hasn't I said step in." She cut him off. Maya finally found her courage. "Ma'am, please look at the registry. It says owner access. I didn't type it in, it appeared." Lowell turned on her like a blade. "Owner access?" she repeated, a mocking laugh under her breath. "That's impossible. You think this man owns a place like this?" Her tone cracked the word man like it was dirt. The room shifted. Even the guests could hear what she didn't have to say out loud. The young couple stopped filming for a second, eyes narrowing in disbelief. Elias's jaw tightened slightly, but still no anger, no outburst. Only control. He tilted his head. "You might want to choose your next words carefully." Lowell scoffed, half laughing. "Oh, please, don't pull the victim act. You don't fit the profile, that's all." That sentence landed heavier than she realized. A silence rolled over the room, heavy as glass. Maya swallowed hard, whispering, "The profile?" Lowell didn't back down. "Exactly. Look at him. He doesn't belong in a penthouse suite." One of the guards shifted his stance. "Ma'am." She ignored him. Elias exhaled slowly, every motion measured. He turned toward the other guests, now watching openly. "You heard her. I don't fit the profile." His voice was calm, steady, carrying the weight of 20 years of repetition. "That's what they said in Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, every time I checked into something I already owned." Maya's hands trembled. She took a step forward. "Sir, is that true?" Elias gave a faint smile that wasn't really a smile. "You'll find out soon." He tapped the watch again, 2 short beeps. The elevator behind him dinged softly, doors sliding open. A tall woman in a charcoal suit stepped out, tablet in hand, corporate badge gleaming silver. Her voice was calm but crisp. "Good evening. I'm Carla Evans, Executive Administrator, Grant Group International." Lowell blinked. "Grant Group, what are you?" Carla didn't wait. She looked at Elias, not at the manager. "Sir, protocol confirmed. Internal audit recording live. Every statement logged since 9:07 p.m. Maya gasped softly. Guests raised their phones again. Lowell's confidence began to fracture. "Wait, what audit? Who authorized this?" Elias turned to her, eyes steady. "You did. The moment you said I wasn't a real guest." The guard closest to him lowered his hands, stepping back. The power in the room shifted quietly, irrevocably. For a moment, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Lowell's voice, once sharp as crystal, cracked under the silence she'd created. "Turn that off," she barked, pointing toward the crowd. "This is private property." But no one listened. The young couple near the elevator had their phones raised. A man in a tailored Navy suit whispered to his wife, "Honey, keep recording. This doesn't look right." Two more guests near the concierge desk joined in, phones discreetly angled toward the scene. The lobby, once polished and quiet, now shimmered under the glow of phone screens. Carla stood still beside Elias, her tone firm but professional. "Miss Lowell, this interaction is now part of an official investigation. I'd advise you to remain calm." Lowell's lips tightened. "Investigation? You can't just walk in here pretending." Carla interrupted smoothly. "Pretending? My credentials are verified through your own corporate system. You'll see them on your terminal in about 5 seconds." As if on cue, Maya's monitor blinked. An internal banner appeared. "Grant Group Oversight Protocol. Active." Maya froze. It's real," she whispered. "It's all real." Lowell spun toward her. "You stay out of this, Maya." But the young woman didn't move away this time. "No, ma'am, I won't. Not again." That sentence hit the lobby harder than a shout. Even Elias looked at her not with surprise, but with the kind of quiet respect that said thank you. The taller guard lowered his hands completely now. "Miss Lowell, maybe we should step back until corporate clarifies." Lowell glared at him. "Are you all losing your minds? This man just walked in here, claimed ownership, and you're what, believing him because he's calm?" Her words cut through the air like glass splintering. Maya swallowed, voice shaking. "No, Mom. Because the system believes him, and because how you've been talking, it's wrong." A few guests murmured their agreement. One woman spoke up, her voice carrying across the lobby. "She's right. We all heard you say he doesn't fit the profile." Another voice joined. "And you called security before checking the system?" Lowell's expression tightened, the kind of look that had kept staff silent for years. She took one step toward the counter, trying to reclaim control. "Enough. Everyone put your phones away. This situation is under control." But it wasn't. Not anymore. Carla tilted her head slightly, calm as a surgeon. "Actually, ma'am, control has shifted. Every second of this incident is being logged to the Internal Ethics Board. Real-time review." Lowell turned pale. "You can't do that." Elias finally spoke, voice soft but firm. "You already did. You created this record yourself." His tone wasn't angry, it was absolute. Lowell's eyes darted to the guests, to the guards, to Maya. For the first time, she looked small. Maya straightened her back, trembling but resolute. "I've worked here 2 years," she said. "I've seen people treated unfairly before, and I said nothing. Not this time." The guests started clapping, not loud, just a few hesitant beats that grew in confidence. The sound bounced off the marble, pure and unsettling. Lowell flinched at it, as if applause was somehow more dangerous than silence. Carla turned to Elias. "Sir, internal compliance just confirmed live connection. They're watching." Elias nodded. "Good." Then to Lowell, "You wanted attention. Now you have it." And for the first time since the confrontation began, she had no answer. Just the hollow reflection of herself on the marble floor, standing under chandeliers she didn't own, facing a man she couldn't define. The clapping faded into a quiet, dangerous kind of silence, the kind that follows truth when it finally lands. Lowell's face flushed crimson. Her authority, chipped and trembling, fought for air. She slammed her palm on the counter. "Enough of this circus." The sound echoed through the lobby like a gavel. Every phone froze mid-recording. Even the chandelier seemed to hold its breath. Lowell pointed directly at Elias. "Security, call the police. Right now." The shorter guard hesitated. "Ma'am, the corporate rep." "I said call them!" Her voice cracked, louder than before. "This man is trespassing and impersonating an executive. That's a federal offense." Carla stayed completely still. "Miss Lowell," she said, voice smooth as marble. "If you make that call, it becomes evidence, not defense." Lowell's hands shook, but pride drowned caution. "Good. Let them come. I want witnesses." Elias's gaze didn't move. He simply said, "You already have them." Guests stood motionless, phones raised. The entire lobby had become a silent courtroom. Lowell reached for the landline. Her voice shook as she spoke into it. "Yes, this is the Lexington Grand. I need police assistance immediately. We have a—" She stopped, because on the other end, a calm male voice interrupted. "Miss Lowell, this is Officer Daniels, Corporate Security Liaison. We've already been notified by Protocol 7. Are you aware you're under live review?" Her fingers loosened from the phone. "What did you say?" The voice continued. "Professional, Unhurried. Your line has been flagged as part of an internal audit. Any false report from management triggers disciplinary action. I suggest you stand down. The phone clicked dead. Lowell turned back toward the lobby, her composure dissolving. That's impossible, she whispered. How did... Carla stepped forward, tablet glowing. The system doesn't lie, ma'am, but people do. Then she turned the screen so the crowd could see. A corporate dashboard flashing red unauthorized escalation logged. 9:21 p.m. The crowd murmured. Lowell's voice was barely a whisper now. This isn't fair. Elias's reply was quiet but merciless. Fair would have been checking the system before calling the cops. Maya's voice broke through next, trembling but certain. She knew, sir. I told her his name showed up, and she ignored it. Oh. The guard beside her nodded reluctantly. Yeah, she told us to move him out anyway. Lowell spun toward them, her authority unraveling strand by strand. You're all making a mistake. Carla cut her off. No, ma'am. You made a decision. That's different. The sentence landed like a verdict. Elias took a slow step forward, calm, unhurried, but commanding. He didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't even need to look at her when he spoke. You tried to use the law to hide behind power. I built this place so people like you couldn't. The guests exhaled as if the tension itself had been holding their lungs hostage. The taller guard quietly stepped to the side, joining Maya near the reception desk. Lowell's hand was still trembling, gripping the edge of the counter like a ledge above a fall she could no longer stop. Her words came out small. You don't have the right. Elias finally met her eyes. No, Miss Lowell, I have the responsibility. And as those words settled into the marble and the silence that followed, the elevator doors opened again, a familiar chime breaking the still air. 3 men in dark suits stepped out, their badges gleaming, Grant Group, Internal Compliance Division. Carla looked up. Right on time. Lowell's face drained of color. The crowd parted. Elias didn't move an inch. He just whispered, more to himself than anyone else. 7 minutes, that's all it took. The arrival of the compliance team should have ended everything. But panic has a way of making fools of the powerful. Lowell's breathing turned shallow, almost frantic. The 3 men in black suits stepped forward, badges visible, their demeanor quiet and lethal. Miss Lowell, the lead officer began, we're here under direct authorization from the board of directors. Effective immediately, this lobby is a controlled environment. Please step aside. She shook her head, her voice trembling but stubborn. No, he's manipulating all of you. This isn't real. The officer's tone didn't change. Ma'am, our systems verified his executive access code 5 minutes ago. Your terminal confirmed it. He gestured toward Maya's screen. The same message pulsed across it, owner access. Active. Lowell looked at the words like they were written in a language she couldn't understand. She turned to Elias, eyes wide and desperate. You planned this? You came here to humiliate me. Elias didn't answer. He didn't need to. Carla stepped closer, calm as ever. No, Miss Lowell. He came here to see if his people still lived by the values they promised guests. Her tone softened just a fraction. You gave him the answer. Lowell's jaw tightened. Her gaze darted toward the guards, the guests, the cameras. Too many eyes. Too many witnesses. The fear wasn't just losing her job, it was losing the illusion of control. Her voice cracked. Enough of this. And then, the mistake that sealed everything. She reached across the counter and grabbed Elias by the wrist. The entire room gasped. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. The guards froze. One of the compliance officers immediately lifted his badge toward the nearest camera. Contact confirmed, incident escalation logged, he said into his earpiece. Lowell's grip was desperate, shaking. You can't. Elias's voice cut through her panic, cold and unhurried. Remove your hand. Oh. Something in his tone made even the guards step back. Lowell hesitated, then released him, breath uneven. She realized too late she'd just crossed a line no apology could fix. Carla's voice came next, low and final. Physical contact with an executive during an internal review is grounds for immediate termination. Lowell's face collapsed. You can't. You don't have the authority. The compliance officer interrupted. We do, and so does he. All eyes turned to Elias. He didn't move, but the weight of the room seemed to tilt toward him, as if gravity itself remembered who was in charge. He straightened his cufflinks slowly, eyes never leaving hers. You wanted me escorted out, he said quietly. Let's make that happen. He gestured toward the guards, not with anger, but with precision. Gentlemen, Please escort Miss Lowell to the conference room on the 34th floor. Corporate will debrief her there. For a second, no one moved. Then the taller guard nodded once. Yes, sir. Lowell stumbled backward, disbelief flooding her face. You can't do this. I'm the manager here. Elias looked past her, toward the guests, the staff, the phones that hadn't stopped recording. Not anymore. The guards flanked her carefully, guiding her toward the elevator. She resisted for a few steps, but the crowd's silence was heavier than any force. As the elevator doors closed, the last thing anyone heard was her voice, small, brittle, fading. You'll regret this. The doors slid shut. No one replied. Carla exhaled softly. Escorted out, just like she ordered. Elias gave the faintest nod. Poetic, isn't it? Maya stood frozen behind the desk, tears forming not from fear, but release. The guests started clapping again. No chaos, no shouting, just the quiet rhythm of justice settling into place. Elias turned toward the compliance team. Let's finish the audit. Then we'll decide who still belongs here. And with that, he walked toward the very suite he'd been denied, leaving behind a lobby that finally understood who he really was. The elevator doors opened again, but this time, Elias didn't step out into chaos. He stepped out into order, the kind that comes after truth has burned everything false to ash. The lobby had changed. The tension was gone, replaced by the hum of whispers and the quiet disbelief of people realizing what they'd just witnessed. The staff stood in a half circle. The guards were gone. Maya held the guest log against her chest like a lifeline. Even the chandeliers seemed to glow warmer now, their reflections softer on the marble. Carla stood by the front desk, tablet still glowing faint blue. Sir, she said, protocol review has reached the board. They're requesting a formal statement. Elias nodded. Patch it through. She tapped a few commands, and the main display screen behind the reception desk, the one that usually showed spa promotions and dinner menus, flickered to black. A new feed appeared. Board secure conference. Live connection established. Gasps rippled through the lobby. Faces appeared on-screen executives, shareholders, department heads. A gray-haired man in the center leaned forward. Mr. Grant, he said, voice steady but reverent, we're watching. You have the floor. For the first time, Elias spoke not as a guest, not even as an executive, but as the architect of the entire empire. He faced the screen, but his voice carried through the room like it was meant for everyone. Good evening. My name is Elias Grant. I founded Grant Group International 15 years ago, the same company that owns the Lexington Grand. The words hit like thunder, wrapped in calm. Guests exchanged stunned looks. A woman in a red coat whispered, He's the founder? Another guest, still holding his phone mid-air, muttered, I thought he was just visiting. Elias continued, measured and resolute. Tonight I came here unannounced without a team, without a title to see if hospitality still meant what it used to mean, to see if respect required recognition. He turned slightly toward the crowd. His eyes caught Maya's for a moment. I didn't find what I hoped for, but I found who I can build with. Maya's eyes welled. Around her, the remaining staff lowered their heads, not out of shame, but realization. Elias looked back at the board. Effective immediately, I'm suspending all on-site management pending a full equity review. New leadership will be trained under Carla Evans, and to our staff watching across the network, he glanced toward the cameras mounted along the walls, now streaming live across every Lexington Grand property in the country. If you've ever been told you don't fit the profile, know this. The profile changes today. Applause erupted, real, full, human. Guests, staff, even the compliance team joined in. No one was performing. It was relief. Carla waited for the noise to settle before saying softly, Statement logged and distributed, sir. Global feed confirmed. Elias nodded once. Thank you, Carla. Then to the guests. You came here for comfort. Instead, you witnessed correction. I appreciate your patience and your phones. A ripple of laughter moved through the room. He turned to Maya one last time. Send that recording to corporate PR. Don't edit anything. Truth doesn't need polish. She nodded, wiping a tear discreetly. Yes, Mr. Grant. He looked around the lobby, the same space that had once rejected him, and exhaled quietly. From now on, when a guest walks through these doors, they're not being measured. They're being welcomed. The crowd stood silent, every word imprinting itself into marble and memory alike. Carla closed her tablet. Broadcast complete. Elias gave a final nod. Good. Then let the world know the Lexington Grand remembers who it belongs to. And for the first time that night, everyone knew exactly what that meant. It didn't take long. By the time Elias finished speaking, the lobby was no longer just a room, it was a broadcast. Within minutes, phones buzzed across the country. Number Lexington Grand trended in the top 3 hashtags on Twitter. Clips of Lowell grabbing Elias's wrist flooded TikTok, some with captions like, "When you try to kick out the owner," or "Silent power hits different." Maya's recording had already reached 500,000 views. Her caption was simple: "He never raised his voice." The hotel's PR line rang non-stop. Local reporters were outside the doors within 20 minutes, cameras pressed against the glass. Security scrambled to manage the chaos, but no one dared interrupt what had just unfolded inside. Carla's earpiece crackled. "Sir, national media is requesting a statement. CNN, CNBC, and 2 local outlets." Elias didn't look away from the lobby. Not yet. She nodded, knowing what that meant. He wasn't finished. The compliance officers stood by the desk, now more like sentinels than auditors. Maya scrolled through her phone, her eyes widening. "Mr. Grant, she's trending too." "Ugh." Elias glanced over. "Lowell?" "Yes, sir. The video, it's everywhere." The lobby's doors burst open. Lowell stumbled back in, pale and disoriented, 2 security officers at her sides. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, notifications stacked like judgment. "Make them stop!" she shouted, voice hoarse. "You can't let them post that. It's defamation." Carla's expression didn't change. "It's documentation." Lowell turned to Elias, desperation clawing at her words. "Please, you have to stop this. I was following policy." He studied her quietly, not with cruelty, but clarity. "Policy doesn't protect people who weaponize it." She shook her head, trembling. "You don't understand." Elias stepped forward, his voice low, controlled. "No. You don't understand what silence costs. You thought power meant volume, but real power?" He paused, the lobby holding every breath. "Real power doesn't shout. It ends things." Ugh. And as if on cue, the main display behind him switched again, showing the hotel's internal network feed. The system read, "Management suspension notice. Effective immediately. Lowell, Catherine." The audience guests, staff, even reporters now crowding near the doors froze. Lowell stared at the screen, color draining from her face. "No," she whispered. "You can't." Elias's tone never wavered. "I already did. The board confirmed it 5 minutes ago." She sank into one of the lobby chairs, shaking. Phones continued recording, but now it wasn't outrage fueling them, it was awe. The quiet kind that comes when justice doesn't need a soundtrack. Carla approached. "Sir, press is requesting official comment before the story runs wild." Elias adjusted his cufflinks, the same motion he'd done before all of this began. "Tell them exactly what they saw. No edits, no spin. The footage speaks for itself." Then he turned to Maya. "Post the internal statement. Every hotel under our brand. Transparency live." She nodded instantly. "Yes, sir." Guests were whispering again, not gossiping now, but quoting him. "Real power doesn't shout. Did you hear that line?" Someone else added, "That's going viral." Outside, the sound of reporters shouting questions grew louder, muffled by the thick glass doors. Elias looked toward them for the first time. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He simply said, "Everyone stop." And the words carried more weight than a command. Even through the glass, the noise dimmed, as if the world itself obeyed. Carla exhaled. "They're quiet." Elias nodded slightly. "Good. Now they'll listen." He turned back to the staff and the remaining guests. "What happened here tonight isn't about humiliation. It's about correction. And correction starts with silence." The room stilled. Phones lowered. For the first time since the chaos began, the Lexington Grand was quiet, not out of fear, but out of respect. The hush that followed his words didn't just quiet the lobby, it rewired it. Even the air felt different, denser somehow, like every molecule now obeyed a single pulse. Lowell sat frozen in the chair, mascara smudged, hands trembling against the fabric of her blazer. The phone on the counter beside her buzzed again, board notification. Access revoked. She stared at the message until the words blurred. Elias didn't look at her right away. He stood at the center of the lobby, facing the staff instead. His voice was calm, not loud, but it carried the weight of finality. "Every company faces moments that define it. This is one of ours." He turned to Carla. Status of the personnel audit? Carla swiped through her tablet. Complete, sir. HR and legal verified all internal statements. Documentation from tonight has been archived. Compliance ready for directive. Elias nodded once. Execute it. A low electronic tone echoed through the room. Maya's monitor flickered again, then the security desk, then the access panel near the elevators. On every screen appeared a single message. Account termination, Lowell Catherine. Immediate. Lowell blinked rapidly, as if denial could somehow reverse code. No, you can't. I've been here 12 years. Carla's tone remained neutral. 12 years should have been enough time to learn respect. Lowell turned toward Elias, voice cracking. You think this makes you noble? You humiliate me in front of everyone. He cut her off, quietly. No, you did that yourself. The sentence dropped like glass shattering in slow motion. No rage, no triumph, just truth, clean and sharp. He stepped closer, each footfall echoing on marble. You mistook compliance for conscience, policy for power. You forgot what hospitality means, and worse, you taught others to forget. He paused, letting the silence do what his voice didn't need to. You're dismissed. The moment the words left his lips, the system tone chimed again. Lowell's ID badge, still clipped to her lapel, blinked red, then went dark. Access revoked, permanently. Her shoulders collapsed. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. The guards exchanged glances, waiting for a cue. Elias didn't give one. He simply turned away. Carla gestured to the guards. Please escort Miss Lowell off premises. As they helped her up, the crowd stayed silent. No one jeered. No one smirked. The punishment wasn't spectacle, it was correction. Maya lowered her eyes, tears threatening again. Elias noticed, stopping beside her. You did the right thing, he said quietly. She swallowed hard. I was scared. Courage isn't the absence of fear, he replied. It's doing the right thing before someone tells you to. Her breath caught. She nodded, whispering, Thank you, sir. Lowell was halfway to the door when she turned back one last time, voice hollow. This isn't over. Elias didn't even look at her. It is. The doors closed behind her, sealing her words away with the night air. Carla exhaled softly, lowering her tablet. Directive complete. Elias nodded. Good. Restore public operations. Leave the audit screens running. Maya frowned. You want the guests to see everything? Yes, transparency isn't punishment, it's the foundation we forgot. He walked toward the glass doors, the reflection of city lights chasing his silhouette. The world outside was still buzzing reporters, cameras, flashing bulbs, but inside, calm reigned. Justice had already been served, and it didn't need applause. As he paused at the threshold, he spoke without turning back. We rebuild from truth, or we don't rebuild at all. And with that, Elias Grant, the man they once called not a real guest, walked out of his own lobby as its quiet redeemer. The city outside shimmered against the glass, a skyline stitched together by light and consequence. Inside, the Lexington Grand stood in perfect silence. The crowd had thinned. Guests lingered only to whisper about what they had seen, their voices careful, reverent. Elias paused in the doorway, one hand resting lightly on the glass, eyes catching his own reflection, the calm face of a man who no longer needed to explain himself. Carla stepped beside him. Sir, corporate channels are flooding with messages of support. Other hotel chains are issuing statements. You've started something. He smiled faintly. Good. Maybe they'll remember what business they're really in. Carla tilted her head. Hospitality? He nodded. Humanity. The word settled in the air like incense. Behind them, Maya approached hesitantly. Mr. Grant? He turned to her, his expression soft. I just wanted to say, thank you. Not for the job, for the reminder. He studied her for a moment, then said, Don't thank me. Just keep it alive. Places like this die when people stop seeing people. She nodded, holding back tears. Carla glanced at him. Your car's ready, sir. Press is still waiting outside. Do you want a statement? Elias shook his head. Let them write what they want. The truth doesn't need an interview. They stepped forward, the automatic doors opening with a quiet sigh. Flashes erupted instantly, reporters shouting questions that collided in the night air. He didn't stop. He didn't answer. A journalist near the front leaned over the barrier, shouting, Mr. Grant, why didn't you reveal who you were sooner? Elias paused just long enough to look at him, because character shows itself when it thinks no one's watching. The line cut through the chaos like a clean note in a noisy room. Microphones lowered. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. He continued walking, each step unhurried, the sound of his shoes echoing softly against the marble steps. Behind him, Carla followed, her tablet buzzing with incoming alerts. "Sir, trending update. Number Justice doesn't shout. It's everywhere." He allowed himself a small smile. Then maybe they heard the point. At the curb, a sleek black sedan waited. The driver opened the door, but Elias stopped, looking back one last time at the grand entrance, the same doorway he'd been told he didn't belong in just an hour earlier. Now it stood open, glowing warm in the night, welcoming again. He turned to Carla. "Reset staff training across all properties. Every single one. I want empathy at the top of the syllabus." Carla smiled. "Yes, sir. Consider it done." He nodded once, then slid into the car. As it pulled away, the hotel's reflection blurred across the window, a building reborn not by renovation, but by reckoning. Inside the lobby, Maya watched from behind the glass. She looked up at the gold plaque above the reception desk. For years, she'd walked past it without reading the fine print. Now she whispered the name out loud softly, like a promise. Elias Grant. Outside, the city buzzed. Somewhere, a phone screen glowed with his, quote, "Justice doesn't shout, it simply arrives." The line spread faster than the scandal ever did, and for every person who had ever been turned away, doubted, or dismissed because they didn't fit the profile, the story of the black CEO who bought the hotel that rejected him became something more than viral. It became proof. That dignity doesn't need a microphone. That power, in its purest form, is quiet.